part 2 of the last video we talked about, which had to do with understanding parts of our brain and how they respond to situations in our lives. So remember, we had the monkey brain. That's our cortex region. That's going to be the front part of our brain that's responsible for emotions and feeling connected with others. And when we don't experience connection, we feel heartache. And so we want to be able to balance our connection and our emotions with being able to bring calm into our lives. So remember, my acronym CALM has to do with becoming curious about your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs and your disconnections. And it's bringing that awareness to the surface and look at it without judgment so that you can live more mindfully within where you are right now. And then we went to the subcortical region of our brain, which is the mammalian brain, that little mouse. It's responsible for running through a maze and finding cheese. And that brings satisfaction and reward, and it also allows for motivation. And when we don't receive reward at the end of our task, then we feel frustration. And so we want to be able to look at that with calm, bring awareness to that. Then we come to the oldest part of our brain, which is the brainstem and the cerebellum. And there's an amygdala inside there, which is where our little lizard lives. And he is very responsible for our flight or fight and our freeze. And he wants to bring safety to us. And when we don't find safety, we feel fear. And so we want to either run and hide or fight it out, or sometimes we just freeze. What I want to bring to you today in part 2 has to do with how. How can we learn how to get ourselves to safety and to seek reward and to find connection? My name is Jackie Frasch. I am a registered professional counselor, and my goal in this channel is to bring you practical tools that will help support you to feel more connected with yourself and move forward in your life, and so you can connect with others. Speaking of connection, let's imagine that this little window right here, this TV screen, is a window of where we feel connected. This is where I am right now. You can see me. I feel connected. I feel calm. I'm noticing what my body is doing. I'm not sweating. I don't have butterflies in my stomach. I don't have sweaty palms. I can breathe really well. What happens when we experience the fight or flight response according to fear, or that lack of motivation for reward, or that heartache from feeling disconnected? We tend to live outside this window. So if you can think about it as living way up there in hyperarousal, that's like the anxiety, fight or flight state. And if you live down here below the surface, it's going to feel depressive, maybe a freeze response, dissociated. These are all opposite ends of the spectrum that make us leave this window that is a window where we feel safe and secure and calm, self-regulated. We feel at peace here. And like those 3 parts of our brain, we feel loved, we feel satisfaction, and we feel safe. And when we are outside of this window, we feel unsafe, we experience fear, frustration, and heartache. So I want to just walk through what it takes for us to live inside this window. And that is to be able to be curious about where I'm at. What issue did I just deal with that was really difficult for me, that maybe got me outside of this zone or outside of this zone? Remember, a little bit of stress is okay. So sometimes when somebody dies, we might go down here a little bit and just be still, withdrawn, maybe isolate a little bit because we're in shock, or can't believe that it happened. So we kind of live down here a little bit, but we're not way down here. We're just like kind of down here because we can go to work after a few days. We get a good cry out a few times. We talk to people about it. So we're still able to be regulated here, but we're just not all there. And so that's okay. When we start relying on the withdrawal and the isolation and the I don't care, the lack of motivation, that lack of feeling needed or wanted and feel like the world is against you, that's what takes you way down below in the hypoarousal state, and it's very difficult to get out of, but it is possible. Similarly, when we experience frustration, or we're scared to do a test, or we are in the middle of a deadline, we can live right up here and we're freaking out. Oh, I'm so scared about this test I'm going to do. but we're not way up in the hyper arousal, as in, I can't handle it, my body's going into craziness, and I'm not able to control my thoughts or emotions or anything, so I'm way up here. So that's what keeps us from feeling like we are connected with anything, and we can't self-regulate up here or way down here. So I want to show you today how we can live within this window. And it has to do with mindfulness. And I think you and I have talked about it before, where mindfulness is being able to pay attention to something on purpose in the present moment without judgment. Being able to notice what's going on in my body. Stomach is aching, or I have a headache, or I'm just not sure about this situation. I want to be able to self-regulate and notice that, and being curious about the situation. Am I opening myself up to awareness, to acknowledge, hey, I feel really weird right now and I'm not liking this, so I'm just going to sit with this for a minute. We all feel discomfort when we feel yucky or heartache or frustration or fear. And so we want to be able to notice that, hey, I feel really frustrated right now because I did a task and it didn't work. So I'm really angry, like I baked my bread and it baked flat. That's really frustrating because now I have to start all over again. But we want to pay attention to what is the real facts. Is this detrimental to our lives? Is this something that feigns that response where I'm just going to give up? That is not being able to stay in your window of tolerance. You want to stay in your window of tolerance by noticing and acknowledging where you are, what's going on, what brought me to this situation. What brought me here is that something didn't go my way, or I studied really hard and I still failed. There are so many situations and issues that go on in our lives that make us dip out of the window of tolerance. There is that window where you can go like this and fluctuate, but when we go way up here and way down there, that's not regulating. So be aware of that. This window is really important for us to live in because this is where we are. And this is the present moment right here, you and me. So I urge you today that when you notice that your body is telling you that you're responding to a situation way out on either side of the spectrum, to bring yourself down into this emotionally regulated state. We want to be able to regulate our breathing. Remember when I was stressed out? You can see the video there. I could not breathe. My chest was so heavy. So I was living outside of that state of calm and connection. And when I can notice that, that is so helpful. That is something that will bring me back. As we practice, it'll bring us back into this window. This is not a one-step remedy for all. This is just something to notice that this is where we feel good when we're in this window. So I urge you today, if you're feeling frustrated, heartache, or fear, tap inside this window and see what you can do to bring yourself back by noticing where you are, what happened in the situation, bringing mindfulness to the surface, that awareness, acknowledging what's going on. I want to leave you with this practical tool today to notice when you are living inside your window of tolerating all of the issues and situations that we have going on in our lives. Within this window, we can find love and we can find reward and we can find safety. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.